Now on Sunrise, Portland's police chief speaks out after a string of shootings send several people to the hospital. Plus, what happens next after a multi-billion-dollar transportation bill fails to pass in Salem? Your news starts now. Good morning, and thanks for getting up with us as we kick off your Sunday. I'm Libby Dowsett. It is 6 o'clock. Let's get right to Joe Ranieri.
So far this summer has definitely been on the cooler side. I know we've only been in summer for just over a week now, but going into today, we're going to be seeing some things change a little bit, and that is going to be with the heat. So throughout the morning hours, we'll be looking at temperatures right around the low to mid 60s to start things off, but we'll be looking at clear skies the entire day. I'm forecasting daytime highs in the upper 80s to the low 90s, so definitely starting to see some warmer temperatures out there, and it's going to be a nice stretch of summer weather over the next few days. And looking at futurecasts all day long, you're going to be seeing nothing but blue skies. That's going to carry over into the afternoon, the overnight hours, and into the early part of the week as well. You're not going to be seeing any major hiccup in the forecast until really Tuesday, and that hiccup is going to be throughout parts of the central and eastern side of the state, with a chance to see some thunderstorms develop late Monday night and into early Tuesday. But for the most part, we're looking at some very calm conditions. So the weather headlines on your Sunday look like this. We're going to be looking at clear skies with mild temperatures out there today. Lots of sunshine and turning hot, and it's going to be a very nice run of summer heat over the next few days. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.
All right. Well, it has been a violent weekend in Portland. A series of shootings has left more than a half dozen people injured. Portland Police Chief Bob Day addressed the city after the flurry of violence. John Adams has our story.
A spree of gun violence across the city of Portland started just after midnight early Saturday morning. A 16-year-old is accused of firing over 24 shots at a private event that had over 100 people in attendance. 4 people, including a 15-year-old, were hit and taken to the hospital. They're all expected to survive. The 16-year-old suspect is now in juvenile detention, facing multiple counts of attempted murder.
Violence should never become acceptable in our city. We should never just see this as appropriate.
Police Chief Bob Day spoke on this and other overnight incidents, including a shooting at a convenience store on Northeast Lombard, where a man was shot in the jaw. 2 other individuals sustained gunshot wounds in the leg. One of those incidents happened around 4:15 a.m. on North Maryland, and the other took place just after 9:30 at Southwest 12th in Columbia. The individuals shot in the leg are both expected to survive. Chief Day tells us the suspects got away in all 3 of these cases.
Those investigations are ongoing. Obviously hoping to make arrests. They're being followed up on by our safety team that focuses on gun violence.
The chief calling the night of violence disappointing and sad.
There's a lot of mixed emotions, but primarily in my role as chief, it weighs heavy on me because I know this is not what Portland is or what Portland needs to be about.
Portland homicide detectives are investigating the death of a man in police custody. It started as a disturbance call just after 10 o'clock Friday night. Officers say a man was reportedly flooding his apartment with water and hanging knives from his window. Shortly after they got there, officers called for an ambulance. Paramedics started CPR and took the man to the hospital, where he later died. The officers in this case are now on standard leave as part of the investigation. Oregon lawmakers ended their 2025 session late Friday night. When the gavel fell, there was not a consensus on the massive transportation package that in part funds ODOT. Governor Kotek held a rare Saturday news briefing talking about next steps, which include layoffs for more than 600 ODOT workers. Celine Stevens has more.
It was too big, it was too complicated. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, ran the calendar out.
The giant transportation package, House Bill 2025, was pushed by Democrats to shore up funding to address Oregon's chronic transportation funding challenges, but Republican lawmakers called it the largest tax hike in state history. It died Friday in session.
And their best idea was to crush Oregonians with more costs and more taxes. We're talking about an agency that needed a few $100 million to balance, and their response was a $12 billion transportation tax.
The smaller amended bill that was then pushed forward, House Bill 3402, also didn't make it when the gavel fell Friday. Governor Tina Kotek speaking on the outcome Saturday morning.
There was a lot of hard work to get it to a comprehensive transportation package, and legislators at the end of the day could not get that over the finish line.
Late Friday, Republicans said they could not support the package, saying Democrats went about it all wrong.
We are still leaving truckers at an imbalance. They're still overpaying their fair share. And this last ditch, what, 3402?
Yep.
I don't even know what it was because it
That's
never
what it
came
was.
out of the House.
Yeah.
But it would have made it worse.
And as we would reach across the aisle and we would say, there's plenty of money, let's redirect some of it, we were rebuffed, right? Like that wasn't their solution. Their solution was straight up new taxes at every turn.
They also said the late unveiling of the transportation package just a few weeks ago didn't give them enough time. As for Democrats, they also spoke out after the session, saying it's not that simple.
I would point to the process that led up to the session. I said in my closing speech that sometimes when things look easy, it's not that the thing was easy, it's that you put in a massive amount of work to get the thing done before it actually gets done in the legislature.
The $11.7 billion transportation package laid out a plan to raise funding through multiple channels, including a gas tax hike and new pay-per-mile tax system for electric vehicles. The other variable lawmakers faced was shifting federal funding, so many believed the state had to step up.
The federal government, unless I can see it, isn't coming in to start helping our local communities with their transit needs.
With the failure of the smaller bill, HB 3402, ODOT will have to adjust to the shortfall. They released this statement Saturday, stating that since last summer, ODOT has broadly shared that if the legislature did not address this shortfall during this legislative session, deeper cuts would have to start in the 2025 to 2027 biennium. They added that next week, ODOT will begin the layoff process. By the end of July, hundreds of positions will no longer be at ODOT. Still, Governor Kotek said there was hard and good work done during the session, with investments being made in mental health and addiction care, education, the homeless crisis, and dedicated funding for wildfires. But she had strong words directed at state GOP leaders.
For whatever reason, people couldn't come together as Oregonians to fund that. And I will put that at the feet of the folks who could have made that happen. And that is the Republican leadership.
As for what comes next,
today's another day. Today's a new day. We're going to figure this out, and I need every lawmaker. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care what your vacation plans are. We are going to solve this.
Celine Stevens, KGW News.
In response to the bill's failure, ODOT said Oregonians will soon experience a less reliable transportation system, but the agency will do its best with the resources it has to keep Oregonians safe. We heard from Republican House Minority Leader Christine Drazen, who continues to push back on claims made by Governor Kotek in response to the legislative session. Drazen says Republicans made multiple attempts to negotiate a balanced budget for ODOT. She says the blame for the package's failure falls squarely on the governor.
I ask about it, she tells me that she is not leading on that issue. She's deferring to legislative leadership on that. That is not actual leadership. She doesn't get to come back after the session closes up and blame House Republicans. She is the governor of our state. She has single party control.
She also accuses the governor of fear-mongering when it comes to potential ODOT layoffs. We are 5 days away from the 4th of July. In Washington, the legal sale of fireworks kicked off Saturday. This was the scene at Mean Gene Fireworks in Vancouver, where people were taking advantage of the early bird specials. We spoke to Mean Gene himself, who told us safety is a top focus every year.
One of the big things that we're focusing on this year is disposal, because people can do everything right and then throw their used fireworks in a can or something, and they may smolder, and when everybody's asleep they catch on fire, and then you have a big problem. So we're encouraging everybody to wet everything down well before they dispose of them.
He reiterated that fireworks are designed with safety in mind, but only if they're used as directed.